Hello. I wanted to spend a little time this evening taking a deeper dive into the beginner groove of our weekly drum groove challenge. So if you're more of an intermediate or advanced level player, you may not really want to stick around and watch it, or you might. That's totally up to you. Just letting you know, if you're more on the advanced side, it's probably going to be a little bit boring to you. If you're on the beginner side, welcome. Feel free to ask any questions that you have for me as I'm going over these things. I just want to give as much info as I can on how to play these, and I hope that you're following along with these every week. You know, if you're learning these each week, I'm just giving you a few grooves to learn, but as you're practicing them, mastering them, you know, it's only going to help your skills as you develop. I'm trying to mix it up every week, add something a little different than last time so that you're not just regurgitating the same stuff every week, but that we're actually keeping a variety of things going. So let's jump into this thing. I'm going to start all these at a pretty slow tempo because I believe that's the best way to learn. You got to play it slow first. As you master the slower tempo, then you can start to build it up. So I'm going to be starting at 60 beats per minute. If you haven't taken a look at the drum groove challenge for the week, it should be linked in this video. We've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced level challenges. And I've got them all on one page this week. Before they were all on separate, so it's a little nicer, a little easier to look at this time around. Okay, so I'm going to put the sticks down actually, just starting out. When we're looking at our beginner drum groove, your right hand is going to be on the hi-hat for the entire groove. What you're going to be doing is playing eighth notes. So what that means, if we're counting by 4, we're counting to 4 for each measure, you're going to play 8 beats on the hi-hat. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're also going to be accenting every downbeat. So that essentially means every 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be a little bit of a louder. I don't want to say you play it harder necessarily, because we still want to play relaxed, but it's going to be a little bit of a louder note. So if I'm clapping it, it'll be more like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if y'all can hear that too well. So I'm clapping a little louder on my first clap. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still hitting my hand between each of those louder beats. You may not be able to hear it too well on my camera mic, but the way we count that is going to be 1 and 2 and. So we are counting all of these. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what does that sound like on the hat? Well, it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the way I'm achieving that louder note is I come down, or I basically start a little higher with my stick. And then I kind of bounce on the way up for each second beat, or each and as we're counting. So the 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, I hope that makes sense. If not, like I said, ask questions. I see a couple comments here. Ty says hello, and I have a nice kit. Well, thank you, Ty. I've had this kit for, well, a little over 10 years now. And it does me just fine. Hey, rate my kit if you want to. I know everyone's all about that. Anyways, so let's just get used to playing the right hand on the hat. And I've got my metronome going, so it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, seems simple enough. Now I have added a little bit of a twist into this pattern. So again, if you are just very much a beginner here, you may not want to add this next part, but we're doing a open hat on every 2 and 4. So what I mean by that, my foot's holding down my hi-hat cymbals together. On every 2 and 4, I'm going to let off some pressure so that the hat's open. So then every 2 and 4, we're going to get more of that. And I'm so sorry, I know that sounds awful on my camera phone, but it's what we got. Maybe I'll get some mics at some point. Okay, so if we put that together, again, we're just doing accented downbeats, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then every 2 and 4 has an open hat. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2. So at this point, we're just doing hands. Let's try and add the left hand in. Left hand's just gonna play 2 and 4 on the snare. It's gonna go with that open hat, so that might make it a little easier to coordinate it. 1 and 2. Okay, so we got the hands working. Now we gotta get the feet in there, or foot. The kick pattern is just gonna be the same throughout. We're basically playing 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. So when I'm punching my hand, that's my kick. So again, back to how we're counting these. The kick is actually on a 16th note rhythm, so that we count our 16th notes as 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So when I'm counting this out loud, I'm just saying my for where the kick is. So 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. If I was counting all the 16th notes, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Again, let's add, I'm going to leave the snare out for this point. We're just going to play the hat and the kick together. So if you're pretty new to drumming, that alone may take you a while to master, and that's okay. Just keep working at it. One thing I didn't mention, I'm pushing down on the hat for every beat after I open it. So essentially that would be, so when I open the hat on 2, I then close it with my foot on the and of 2. So that's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So I'm stepping down on the hat as I also play it with my hand. Again, if this isn't making sense, ask me questions there. Let's just put this all together here. I'm just gonna play the full groove. So 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, so start practicing on that. Once you get that down pretty well, I do have a fill on the last measure of this thing. The fill, I've kept it pretty simple. We're just playing 8th notes. We've got 3 hits on the snare drum, 2 hits on the mid tom, 1 hit on the snare, and then 2 on the floor tom. So it sounds just like this. I'm going to count it in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I'll do that one more time for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, spend a little time with that, get that down, and then let's put it all together. So here's the full groove at 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so as drummers, we always want to play fast. Playing fast is cool. It really is, honestly. But if you can't play well when you play fast, it's really not worth anything. So I implore you, please master this thing slow before you start to speed it up. Now that I've played it at 60, I am going to speed it up. So let's just take it up to 80. I'll play it a couple times through and then we'll just start to pick up the speed from there. So, 80 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's take it to 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about 120? Again, if you're learning this, don't jump these up this quickly. Like I said, master it on the lower speeds. But once you get it down at a tempo, bump it up. First, I'd bump it up by 5 to 10 beats per minute. I'm jumping these up by 20 just for the sake of brevity on the video. But yeah, if you get to a point where you feel pretty locked in on a tempo, don't jump it up incredibly beyond what you're doing, but 5 to 10 beats per minute. If you play through it pretty easily, then you can take it up higher than that. All right, we're going on 120 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to 140. This is about where I start to break down a little bit. I tried it at 160 earlier, and we'll get there just to embarrass myself. All right, 140. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to 150. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try 160. 1, silly and we're getting into punk territory. Let's see if I can just get 180. I have not tried 180 yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's just sloppy, so I'm gonna stop there. It's fun to try, right? Okay, so there's the beginner drum groove for the week. Feel free to be practicing on that thing. I'm hoping to tomorrow night come on and talk more about the intermediate drum groove, and then the night after that, advanced. But don't hold me to that. I'm not quite sure how my work schedule is gonna allow for it, but I do hope to at least every night this week talk about each one individually, so that we're not just blasting through all 3 of them in one video like I did last night. Like I said, if any of y'all have any questions, this will be staying up on the page, so if you're watching this later, then feel free to put your questions down in there and I'll get back to you. I'm also putting this up on YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube later, same thing. Post your questions down in the comments. I will get back to you. All right, I hope everyone's having a great night. I'll let you get back to whatever you're doing. Take care.